You won't recognize a stupid man by how he looks. He often sounds like he has it all figured out. His greatest weapon isn't silence, it's a mouth that never stops moving. The dumbest thing he ever says isn't just wrong, it's what keeps him weak for life. Welcome back to the battlefield of thought. Today, we're not talking about book smarts or IQ points. We're talking about something far more dangerous: the words a man chooses and what they reveal about age. His character, because a truly foolish man doesn't walk around babbling nonsense with drool on his chin. He walks with confidence. He speaks with conviction. And he believes every word he says is truth, even when it's destroying him from the inside out. These 6 phrases sound harmless, some even sound strong, but they are verbal poison. They give away your power, rob you of responsibility, and keep you stuck in a weak man's. And today, we're going to kill them, one by one. So if you've ever said them, don't panic. It doesn't mean you're doomed. But if you keep saying them, then you're not just wrong, you're wrong. Let's go to war with weakness. Section 1. That's just the way I am. This is the anthem of the emotionally lazy. The man who says this isn't trying to grow. He's trying to protect his dysfunction. He thinks that because he was something yesterday, he has to stay that way forever. That's not strength, that's slavery. Because when you say, "That's just the way I am," you're announcing to the world, "I've stopped evolving." You're telling yourself, "I'm done trying," and a man who stops trying is already half dead. A stoic man, on the other hand, knows the truth. Your personality is not your prison, it's your starting point. You were born as rock, clay, not as a finished statue. Every day, you sculpt yourself. With your choices, with your discipline, with your thoughts. But the stupid man, he hides behind labels. He blames his childhood, his past, his star sign, even his zodiac or genetics, anything, to avoid facing the truth. He's chosen comfort over character. Section 2. I don't care what people think. It sounds tough, like the line of a man who's fearless. But most of the time, it's a lie. The men who say this the most care the most. They're usually the ones refreshing their social feed every 5 minutes, posting quotes about being unbothered while secretly dying for validation. It's performative detachment. Real Stoics, they don't need to say they don't care, they just don't. They don't declare it, they embody it. Because indifference isn't about pretending, it's about focus. They aren't running from opinions, they're walking steadily toward purpose. So next time someone says, "I don't care," look closer. It's often insecurity in disguise, and real strength doesn't need to be announced, it's felt. Section 3. It's not my fault. The national anthem of the week. This is what a man says when he wants to run from responsibility, not walk toward power. He blames the economy, his parents, his boss, his girl, his genetics, the algorithm, the weather, every own. But himself. But here's the Stoic truth. The moment you give away the blame, you give away the power. You stop being the creator and start becoming a victim. Victims wait for change. Warriors create it. You don't take responsibility because it's fair. Take it because it's the only way to move. Even if the disaster wasn't your fault, you make the solution your mission, because the moment you own it, you can fix it. Section 4. Why should I try if nothing changes? This is the logic of the defeated. He's not looking for growth, he's looking for an excuse to quit. He starts a business and gives up when it gets hard. He apologizes once doesn't get forgiveness and walks away. He expects fast returns from a slow universe, and when he doesn't get them, he folds. This is the mind of a vending machine man. Push button, want result. But Stoics, they live for the process. They don't ask, will this change my life? They just train. They sharpen. They show up. Because the value is in the doing, not the reward. And the man who keeps swinging even when it looks pointless is the one who eventually breaks. Through the wall. Section 4. Why should I try if nothing changes? This is the logic of the defeated. He's not looking for growth, he's looking for an excuse to quit. He starts a business and gives up when it gets hard. He apologizes once doesn't get forgiveness and walks away. He expects fast returns from a slow universe, and when he doesn't get them, he folds. This is the mind of a vending machine man. Push button, want result. But Stoics, they live for the process. They don't ask, will this change my life? They just train. They sharpen. They show up. Because the value is in the doing, not the reward. And the man who keeps swinging even when it looks pointless is the one who eventually breaks. Through the wall, they live for the process. Section 5. I deserve better. Sounds powerful, right? But often, it's just delusion in disguise. Most men who say, I deserve better, haven't earned a damn thing. They want the kingdom without building the castle. They want loyalty, love, money, success, but do nothing to become worthy of it. A Stoic man doesn't ask, what do I deserve? He asks, what am I willing to become for it? Desire without discipline? That's just fantasy. You want better, then be better. Section 6. That's impossible. The final nail. The phrase that kills more dreams than failure ever could. Stupid men don't say that's impossible because it is. They say it because they've already given up. They don't want to admit someone else worked harder. So they say he's lucky or he's cheating. They see greatness and instead of learning from it, they label it unreachable. It's safer that way, because if it is possible, then their excuses are dead. So they reject the truth just to stay comfortable. But Stoic men, they accept difficulty. Like iron sharpens a blade, they embrace the struggle, not avoid it. Because pain is not the enemy, comfort is. Being stupid isn't about IQ, it's about how you think. It's about how you speak. The stories you repeat to yourself, and the excuses you let survive. Want to stop being weak? Kill the weak words. Replace them with silence. Replace them with action, because wise men don't scream, I'm strong. They walk in quiet discipline. In the next section, we'll go deeper. How to recognize these phrases in others and in yourself. How to break the habit of saying them before they poison your progress. And how to rebuild a new mental vocabulary, one that aligns with Stoic. How? Let's continue. By now you've seen it. The phrases that poison a man's growth. That's just the way I am. I don't care what people think. It's not my fault. Why should I try? I deserve better, and the final dagger. That's impossible. Each one is a verbal escape route from discipline, from truth, from the man you were meant to become. But here's the real challenge. Do you recognize these phrases in yourself? Because the enemy isn't the words, it's the thinking behind them. And if you don't break that thinking, it breaks you. Section 1. How stupid men speak to others. Let's shift focus. It's not just about what stupid men say to themselves. It's about how they speak to others. Because your mouth is a mirror of your mindset. And when a man lives in fear, resentment, or delusion, it leaks. He brags too much. He interrupts too often. He over-explains and underperforms. Here's what you'll hear. If I were him, I'd never let that happen to me. She's lucky to have me. People just don't get how smart I really am. I've got big plans, with no execution in sight. Stupid men talk like they're always on stage performing confidence instead of building it. The wise man, he speaks less, but when he does, every word lands like iron. Section 2. The unconscious script. Most men don't even realize they're repeating these lines. They say, "That's just how I think," as if that's the end of the discussion. But your thinking isn't sacred, it's your starting point. You weren't born with mindset, you trained it. Through repetition, through belief, through the stories you absorbed growing up. So what happens? You hear your dad say life's always been against us, and now you say it. You hear a friend say there's no point in trying, and now you believe it. This is the script of weakness, and if you don't rewrite it, you will repeat it over and over until your life becomes a loop of almosts. So how do you break the script? Section 3. The Stoic Reset. You replace weak phrases with powerful questions instead of, "That's just how I am." Ask, "Who am I becoming by staying this way?" Instead of, "I don't care what they think." Ask, "Do I live in a way I can respect even in silence?" Instead of, "It's not my fault." Ask, "What power do I give up by blaming others?" Every weak phrase hides behind comfort. Every strong phrase invites ownership, and ownership, that's where masculinity begins. Section 4. The price of sounding smart. Some men think sounding smart is the same as being smart. They use big words, quote books they haven't read, overcomplicate simple truths. But Stoic wisdom, it's clean, direct, and complicated. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "Inquire as to the rational substructure of the metaphysical pursuit of virtue," he said. "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's clarity. The stupid man confuses depth with confusion. The wise man makes complexity simple because he's lived. So if your words aren't helping people see clearer, you're just adding noise to the world. Section 5. The still man and the loud man. The world is full of loud men. Men who speak without thinking, react without pausing, criticize without knowing. But the still man, he sees everything. He observes 10 times before speaking once. He doesn't feel the need to fill every silence, because he understands this truth. The wise man speaks when he has something to say. The foolish man speaks because he has to say something. Which one are you? Section 6. The first step out. Maybe you've caught yourself saying some of these phrases. Maybe you've said all 6. So what now? Shame won't save you. Silence will. Pause more. Speak with weight. And every time a weak phrase rises, stop and reframe it. Because if your words don't reflect your strength, they will reveal your weakness. This week, take inventory. Write down the phrases you say on autopilot. How you respond to failure, to rejection, to effort. Do you lean on blame? Do you run to comfort? Do you escape into noise? Or do you pause, breathe, and respond like a stoic? That's the challenge. Not to speak more wisely, but to speak less and live more powerfully. Final reflection. The killing of weakness. So now you've heard them. 6 phrases, 6 mental handcuffs, 6 invisible walls between who you are and who you were born to become. Maybe you said them. Maybe you still say them. That doesn't make you broken. That makes you awake. Because the man who sees his flaws is already more honest than most. But here's what matters now. You don't speak like that anymore. Not because someone told you to, but because you finally heard yourself. The noise, the self-pity, the sarcasm, the performance. It ends here. Because the boy inside you wants to survive. But the man you're becoming, he wants to build. The mind of a Stoic. A Stoic doesn't waste words. He doesn't need to say, I don't care. He just lives above the chaos. He doesn't say, it's not my fault. He takes the problem into his hands and shapes it. He doesn't cry, I deserve better. He earns better. He doesn't hide behind, that's just who I am. He redefines what he becomes every day. And when the world tells him that's impossible, he doesn't argue. He just proves them wrong with quiet, deliberate action. The Stoic doesn't compete with noise, he silences it. He doesn't shout over fools, he leaves them talking to themselves. He doesn't react in chaos, he breathes through it. That is mastery. Not performance, presence. Not shouting, stillness. You're in a war. Every weak phrase is an echo of a man at war with himself. You weren't born to stay small. You weren't made to hide behind excuses. You were meant to rise. But rising takes honesty. And honesty hurts. It cuts through your ego like a blade. But that's where freedom begins. When you no longer fear what's true. When you stop explaining your flaws like they're permanent. When you kill the phrases that used to comfort you. Because comfort is the coffin they dress up as a home. And your soul wasn't built to rest, it was built to wrestle.
The Stoic path forward. Let's walk forward now, with less noise, with fewer words but more truth. Let your voice be rare and razor sharp. Let your energy walk into a room long before you speak. You don't need to shout, I'm powerful. Let your silence announce it. You don't need to prove your worth. Let your actions drip with it. You don't need to win every argument. Some are only invitations to lose your peace. We and peace? That's the true empire. The Stoic man lives there. He doesn't beg for it, he builds it. One decision at a time, one breath at a time, one moment of not reacting when it would have been easy to explode. What you say reveals who you serve. Your mouth is a mirror. It shows who you've been listening to, your discipline, or your fear, your pain, or your clarity, your excuses, or your future self. From now on, speak like a man with fire in his chest and silence in his eyes. Use your voice with intention. Use your silence as a weapon, because when a man learns to shut his mouth, he finally hears the war inside him, and he stops fighting the world, he starts rebuilding himself. The power of empty rooms. You may walk away from people who once felt like home. Let them go. You may stop responding to messages that used to feel urgent. Let them wait. You may start showing up in silence. While others perform for the crowd, let them talk. The most dangerous man is the one who doesn't flinch, the one who is quiet in chaos, unbothered in disrespect, calm while the world shakes around him. That's who you're becoming, not because it's trendy, but because it's time. One final truth. You are not your habits. You are not your phrases. You are not your past conversations. You are the man beneath them, waiting to emerge when you finally choose stillness over reaction, responsibility over blame, discipline over pity. The greatest transformation of your life won't be loud. It will be silent. A quiet decision in a private room to stop being who you've always been and start becoming what you were always meant to be. Your affirmation. You don't need more advice, you need fewer lies. So repeat this, not with your mouth, but with your life. I don't speak weakness, I build strength. I don't argue for my limits, I outgrow them. I don't beg, I embody. I don't say it, I live it. This is the code now, this is the creed. Not just for today, but for every moment your old self tries to come back. Let him knock, but never let him back in. The world is loud, too loud. And in the middle of all that noise, a man who thinks before he speaks, a man who lets his actions echo louder than his opinions, is magnetic. So kill the noise, kill the weak phrases, and rise in stillness. Comment below, I don't say it, I live it. Like this video if you've killed at least one of these phrases in your own life. Subscribe to Stoic Philosophy Insights for weekly tools to master your mind. In the next chapter, we expose the mindset behind mediocrity and how to replace it with discipline that earns respect without ever needing to shout. Until then, stay focused, stay grounded, stay stoic,